Daily Wire, new from Mary Margaret Olahan, White House correspondent for the Daily Wire. Would-be Kavanaugh assassin should be let off easy because he identifies as transgender, family says. So this is on dailywire.com. I don't know. What do you think? Should they give him a break because he's transgender? Would-be Kavanaugh assassin should be let off easy because he identifies as a transgender. All right, so the parents and family of Nicholas Roski are arguing that their son, the man who attempted to kill Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, should be treated leniently and given an opportunity to thrive as a transgender woman, court documents show. No. No. In startling letters dated September 19th, Roski's family describes the 29-year-old attempted assassin as Sophie. That's the new name of the assassin, Sophie. And Sophie uses female pronouns now to describe Rossi and pushes for leniency for their family member who pleaded guilty to the attempt to kill a United States Supreme Court justice in April of 2025, 3 years after authorities arrested him in Kavanaugh's neighborhood carrying a bag full of weapons and burglary tools. So let me ask you this. If this was indeed a biological woman, you remove him from the situation, you put a biological woman in his shoes, do you think that the same would have to apply, that they would give a woman leniency because she was a woman and not a man? I mean, look, that just goes to show how sexist that our country really is against men. You know how the modern woke progressive women, they keep saying that we live in a sexist country and everything's against women, gender pay gap and all that shit. Well, I mean, this just seems to prove just more definitively that our country's more against men than women, for sure. I mean, you could apply it to divorce court. Same thing. Men get absolutely screwed in divorce court all the time. So anyway, just some food for thought. All right. Let's see. The family pleaded with Judge Deborah Boardman, who was appointed by former President Joe Biden, that Sophie needs therapy, relaxation, and the outdoors in order for him to ultimately thrive. His sister specifically expresses fears about him getting placed in a male prison with limited access to gender-affirming care. The Daily Wire first reported last month that Roski's legal team told the court he identifies as transgender and would be referred to as Sophie. It now appears, based on the family letters, that this is potentially part of its legal strategy, of course. Placing Sophie in long-term incarceration would stunt her ability to thrive and severely impact her overall life trajectory. Oh, well, poor baby. Well, maybe you shouldn't try to assassinate freaking Supreme Court justices, asshole. Writes Olivia Roski, the gay sister. Okay. The plot thickens. Of the attempted assassin, Sophie needs a balanced life and appropriate support from loving people, not incarceration. Luckily, she has many loved ones eager to show her support, and we need her home in order to fully provide that to her. Dude, these people are so delusional. You really think that they actually think that there's a chance that that's going to happen? Like, they seriously think that's going to happen. Sophie has so much to offer the world, Roski's sister insists, and I ask that you allow her to live that out fully. Well, no, actions have consequences, lady. Actions have consequences. Justice Department attorneys are recommending that Roski be given 30 years in prison. They ask that the court's sentence must send the unequivocal, clear, and strong message that attempted violence and threats of violence against members of the judiciary, as well as other public and federal officials, cannot and will not be tolerated and will be justly and severely condemned. They specifically state that the court's sentence must be significant enough to not only reflect the harm sought to be inflicted on the judiciary, but also to send a message that the consequences for these acts, no fewer than 30 years to life in prison, are not worth the perceived ideological ends. 100%, absolutely 100% agree with that. Throw the fucking book at them, especially with this political divide bullshit that Democrats have been pushing for 10 years now. Roski's family, on the other hand, believes he would do better at home with them. Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, everybody would do better at home than in prison. Of course they would. The repeated references to Roski's transgender identity indicate that they believe Boardman may be swayed toward a lighter sentence out of compassion for Roski's gender identity. Over and over, Roski's father, mother, sister, grandparents, uncle, and friends harken back to his mental health difficulties and suggest that prison life is too hard for Roski to endure as a trans-identifying individual. Well, where was the family when he was arming up and going out to assassinate Brett Kavanaugh? Where were you then? I mean, were you enabling those actions? I mean, I'd be looking into that. Maybe they're accomplices in that. In 2023, Boardman notably denied the request of a group of Maryland parents who had asked that Montgomery County Public Schools allowed them to opt their kids out of lessons that include LGBTQ books. The Supreme Court ruled this summer that the school system had violated the parents' rights. Let's see. Sophie has had to face many challenges but remains positive, hopeful, writes Roski's mother in a letter promising over and over to help and affirm her son in his transgender identity should he be allowed out of prison. I have seen evidence of this during her incarceration. She is persevering. Over the past 3 years, she has matured, reflecting on what happened and how to never have it happen again. Well, you know what? How about they just send him to male prison, to the men's prison, and maybe he'll find a nice, handsome, lovely young man, and then they'll get married and live happily ever after. In prison. Roski's father argues that during the COVID-19 pandemic, Roski grew fearful of getting the virus or giving it to others, as well as anxious about what COVID meant for the future. Since he had been accepted to get his master's and possibly a doctorate in philosophy on the East Coast, Roski then moved to Seattle, where he lived for several months without a job before moving home and beginning to substitute teach. Shortly thereafter, when the school year ended, Roski then flew from California to Maryland to attempt to assassinate Brett Kavanaugh. She does better with structure, wrote Roski's father. Clear rules and a schedule will be given when she comes back to live with us. I think she would benefit from some assistance with developing organization. When she... Dude, these people, like I said, man, delusional to the max. Absolutely delusional. A schedule will be given when she comes back to live with us. I think she'd benefit from some assistance with developing organization and life skills. We will also work on teaching her how to do her own planning and organizing. Oh my God, dude, there's just no limit to the delusion. Anyway, whatever. Look how long this article is. Absolutely crazy. Come on, Daily Wire. But whatever, I get it. There's a lot that they said in the letter. It does go on and on. There's a lot of quotes, so there's more to be said about it. But I'll link it in the description if you want to look at that more. I don't want to really waste any more time on that.